Alright guys, so I had a bit of a mishap here, and it turns out my broadcasting software, the recording software I'm using, Open Broadcaster software, decided to not recognize my microphone as I was recording this episode. So I'm going to be doing a bit of post-commentary on this one. It turns out that's... apparently I need to actually check that my settings are correct before I record the episode. Minor details. So we had here a bit of an issue with, I'm on the development branch, and one of the patches that was released would not let the Sparrow spawn in. No matter what. It wouldn't load in the vehicle designer, it wouldn't let me spawn it in here in the campaign, so I couldn't put it in play. So I'm kind of at a loss here. I had to design another aircraft. And as it turns out, that's actually going to work really well for me, because this new aircraft is quite a bit tougher, quite a bit more agile, and just overall a better vehicle. But I was kind of bummed out about the Sparrow not functioning correctly. So, let's go ahead and spawn in our vehicle here, and I'm going to go ahead and get that Sparrow created and spawned in and get all that functioning. Or not the Sparrow, rather, the new vehicle, which I have conveniently named the Shenanigans in honor of what just happened to the Sparrow. Yeah, so let's go ahead and load that guy. I will have him built in a few minutes, and I will bring you back when he is constructed. Alrighty, so it looks like our Sparrow is nearing completion, or not the Sparrow. I keep calling it the Sparrow because I want the Sparrow to be back, but no, this is the Shenanigans. You can see we've got a bit wider of a wingspan here. It's just a bit larger of a vehicle in general. It's about 50% larger. And it flies a lot better. I've got to admit, the Sparrow was not that great of a flying vehicle. It was nearly as wobbly as our Wobblers, and this guy is much, much more stable. He's just overall a better vehicle, I think. He's better armed, not quite as many missiles, but better mines and better missiles in general. I took a few of the missiles off in favor of making the existing missiles longer and essentially adding some additional firepower to them. So, as I zoom out here, you'll notice I kind of set up a blockade ring of Wobblers, just the little cheap Wobblers around my base, around my core territories. That is hopefully going to keep enemies off me long enough that I can actually go out and do some fighting and conquering. You can see we've got Onyx Watch up north, we've got Scarlet Dawn up there, and I still don't have any crystal territories. Not having crystal is actually going to hurt me here quite a bit because I can't build lasers, and I can't build cannons with explosive rounds, only basic and armor-piercing rounds. And that's really not going to do me a whole lot of good when I'm up against endgame factions like the Scarlet Dawn. So I really need a crystal resource zone in order to fight anything like that furball over there. So, that Scarlet Dawn fleet is attacking me. I'm not too worried about it. It's going to get caught up on that Sparrow down there, and it's going to attempt to attack the Sparrow, and I'm not going to be able to bring the Sparrow into play, so it's pretty much going to get stuck there for life. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So, I'm going to bring my Shenanigans up north a ways, and I will bring you back when we get up there. Okay, I lied. We're going to take a look at the Sparrow on its way up there. Let's get a closer in look up here. So the Sparrow has many more jets on it. That's both an advantage and a weakness. It can move much faster than the Shenanigans. I keep calling it the Sparrow. The Shenanigans can move much faster than the Sparrow could, but it's all of those jets on it make it rather vulnerable to a jet getting hit. And you can see here I've got plenty of engine power to spare. I went ahead and decided to bump all of the shields up to strength 6. That will hopefully keep some of the armor-penetrating rounds we're going to be seeing in the near future from penetrating through those shields and actually damaging me. You can see there's a few holes in the shields here and there. I'm not too concerned about that. Those shields are very strong, and in general things aren't going to be aiming in through the sides or around the wings. I put a few ammo barrels out there on the tips of the wings as decoys, but I'm not too concerned. If those get blown up, the Sparrow can still fly just fine. So working on setting those shields up some more. There's quite a lot of shields on this thing, actually. There's a couple of frontal angled shields there, there's a top shield, there's a bottom shield, there's a couple of rear shields. Overall, we're pretty well protected against most incoming fire. And you can see, after the problems I had with the Sparrow, the Shenanigans is getting saved to a new file just in case. Alright, so now I'm going to bring you back in when we get back into some action. Alright, so this resource zone here has some crystal. I want it. I really want it. So we are going to go straight for this Onyx Watch Fort, and we're going to expand our territory a little bit. This is going to serve the dual purpose of taking some territory from the Onyx Watch, keeping them from producing quite so many fleets, and hopefully gaining us some crystal as well. Now we've only got 3 missiles on the front of the Shenanigans, and those missiles are 2 single warhead missiles and 1 double warhead missile. So one of them's a little more powerful, and the other 2 are all 3 of the missiles are longer than the ones that were on the Sparrow. So all of them actually now have target position prediction guidance. You'll see this come in handy a bit later. What that will do for us is allow us to predict the position of moving targets. Against this fortress here, it's not going to make much difference at all. In fact, it's really not going to make any difference. But when we start fighting some faster moving vehicles, it's going to help us a lot. So in the previous video, someone asked if I should set the cone angle on those frag warheads to a narrower cone, and there's kind of a yes and no to that. A narrow cone is very good at penetrating armor because those frag particles, you'll get multiple frag particles hitting each individual piece of armor, and thus the frags will very quickly penetrate through even very heavy armor. Whereas if you're dealing with a very wide cone angle, then those frag warheads will send their frag particles out farther. They'll hit more stuff, and they will cause more damage to the vehicle overall. Also, missiles don't always impact a target directly. Those missiles, as you can sometimes see, come in at an angle, and sometimes the angle that they're coming in and hitting the target at is not going to be a very good angle for the frag particles if you have that cone angle set very narrow. So if you have those armor-penetrating missiles, you better hope that they're hitting the target directly on. Otherwise, most of your frag particles, even though that's technically a very good missile for armor penetration, most of those frag particles are just going to bounce off because of the angle of the armor relative to the angle of the missile hit. So, yeah, having a frag warhead set to a very narrow cone angle is going to help us out against armor, and you're going to see later on that I actually do set a couple of the warheads on this Shenanigans vehicle to a much narrower cone angle. But when you're fighting stuff like the Deepwater Guard, you actually want some warheads at least set on that wider cone angle so that you can clear out lightly armored components. Because having that wider angle just increases the chance that you're going to hit something, and that increases, of course, the chance that you're going to hit something important. Yeah, you can see I'm actually going to bring this frag cone angle down a bit on these missiles because I'm not liking how long it's taking me to get through the heavy armor of that fortress. So again, the Shenanigans isn't really the most powerful vehicle when it comes to all-out offense. It's got those 3 missiles in the front, it's got 2 missiles in the rear that it's firing. Those tend to hit the top of a target rather than the front or sides. But again, it's not really dealing a ton of damage even with those 3 fairly heavy missiles. It does have a set of 12 mines on it as well. Those are single warhead mines, and they've got just 1 warhead and a magnet on them. So they can be reloaded and dropped very quickly, but you have to really get them fairly close to the target before they'll engage, and sometimes it really just doesn't work out. You can see we just took the gun off this fortress in a nice fiery explosion there. So he's really not much of a threat anymore. Yeah, he's not going to be doing anything to us anytime soon. However, he does have repair bots, and I'm noticing right now that there are some red exclamation points on the compass up there. Probably means that there's something incoming. We know what this means. Something incoming is generally not a good sign when you've got this many opponents around, and we know we had a Scarlet Dawn fleet around, and in this case, as it turns out, we had a White Flare fleet approaching. And we got a little bit lucky here. They actually spawned in on the land. And one of those White Flares over here, a buzzsaw as it turns out, apparently didn't have the correct IFF transponder on its missile systems. Either that or there was yet another fleet over there which the buzzsaw just blew up. I would not put that past the game at this point. Those buzzsaws are a real threat to most vehicles, but I think it's actually going to work out in our favor here because the buzzsaws are mostly melee and have very small rockets on them, or missiles rather. Those are guided missiles, but they do not have any target position prediction guidance on them. So our Shenanigans aircraft up here is very fast. It's like 50 meters a second, and those missiles are going to have a really tough time hitting something that fast. So we're just going to keep plunking away at this fort and hope that those repair bots don't repair the entire thing before we actually get to use or take it down. And keep engaging pretty much everything. You can see the frag particles are mostly at those wide cone angles bouncing off the heavy armor there. But we hit at such a weird angle on that particular shot that even a narrow cone wouldn't really have gone through the armor that well. Yeah, you can see I'm showing off those target position prediction modules in here. Those 2 side missiles are only single warhead. The front missile up here does have a double warhead on it. You can see we're dropping some of the mines up there. Those mines aren't very well protected on the vehicle, and that's kind of a weakness, a flaw in the design if you will. But it doesn't really matter too much because there's not going to be too much that's going to shoot at that particular spot on the vehicle. There's really nothing high priority there. Most enemies are either going to shoot for our ammunition, which is on this Shenanigans vehicle protected by heavy metal armor, or they're going to be trying to take out engines like those infrared missiles. Or they'll be shooting for center of mass or something like that. So really there's not too much that's going to be dealing heavy damage to us. Now you can see in that particular hit the wide cone angle actually worked out somewhat in our favor, because you can see it kind of cleaned out the internals of this vehicle very quickly. Those 2 missiles hit, they each had 2 frag warheads on them, and they were set to like a 20 and a 40 degree frag cone angle. And those kind of spread the frag particles out all over the inside of that vessel. You can see they cleaned the internals out pretty well, even though they really didn't do much damage to the armor itself. And you can see very few of those frag particles are escaping there. So really it comes down to a matter of area of effect versus armor piercing. If you have a very wide cone angle, you're going to be better at cleaning out the soft, squishy guts of an enemy. Like you can see there, we cleaned out most of the remaining internals there. There's really only a couple of fuel tanks left there and some heavily armored blocks. But if you have the very narrow cone angle, it is undoubtedly going to be much better at tearing through the armor to begin with. So you're going to cause more damage to heavily armored internals. Oh, looks like that Scarlet Dawn fleet over there actually got over to and engaged our Sparrow, which is completely helpless at this point because we can't spawn the thing. I'm still kind of annoyed about that one. And it looks like we actually had a Steel Strider take a bit of territory from us there. Not too concerned about that because there wasn't really anything important in that territory to begin with. Look at all those tasty resources. I want them. You can see we're kind of bouncing back and forth here between two Onyx Watch fleets as well. There's two of them over there. And there's still a ton of incoming from all over the place. This is going to be chaos for a few episodes, at the very least. Once we start taking some resources and conquering zones from these guys, I think we're going to start balancing out to where we're not in such bad shape. But in the meantime, you can see we're taking out this other Onyx Watch fleet. There's just so many other fleets around here that just for a while we're going to be dealing with fleet after fleet after fleet. And the only recourse we have is to take those resource zones away from enemies so they can't keep spawning new fleets over and over. So here you can see I was kind of looking at the resource costs on those cannon components. I really want to build a powerful explosive orbital cannon and have that sitting like out on the edge of space, just firing explosive shells all over the place and, you know, blasting stuff from huge range and hopefully doing a ton of damage. But right now you can see I have 150 crystals. That is enough for 15 explosive warhead boxes. And you can't really build a very good rapid-firing explosive cannon with 15 of those boxes. You might be able to get a single-barreled cannon up that way, but it's really only going to be a single-barreled cannon. You can't really support a ton of shots that way. Alright, so this guy's just going to keep floating around up here, firing missiles, pretty much anything and everything in his line of fire. And it looks like he's just finished wiping out the last of those Telemachus vehicles. I wasn't really too concerned about those. The only thing they've got on them that's even remotely threatening is a single missile launcher. And this guy's fast enough, the Shenanigans is fast enough that we really don't have to worry about the missile launchers too much. At least not those infrared ones. A good laser-guided system with target position prediction guidance could pretty much do us in at this point, but fortunately we're not going to run into anything with that. Now you can see over here this White Flare's buzzsaw has kind of magically made its way out of the land and is now floating quite happily. Fortunately, it seems to be disabled, so I'm going to go ahead and get the Shenanigans over here to attack it as quickly as I can. Because once that thing starts moving, it's pretty hard to take out. And you can see we're going to get some experience with that in a few minutes. This little flying blob down here, too, I'm not too concerned about him. I don't even know how those things are armed. I haven't seen it fire any ordnance at me. And you can see we're firing missiles at it. Yeah, having those target position prediction modules is very nice for targeting fast-moving aircraft. You can see the flip side of that here. Those buzzsaw missiles do not have that. So you can see they're arcing around and they're just missing my fast little flyer here entirely. Meanwhile, I'm just throwing some missiles out, and even though he's got his mobility back, even though he's moving fast at the high rate of speed a buzzsaw is capable of, those missiles are going to hit their intended target, and that is his engines. You can see they've already taken one out here, so he's going to be kind of floating in a circle for a bit. The Buzzsaw has quite a number of repair bots on it, which is pretty annoying. Look at all the missiles falling out of the sky. Those are all the Buzzsaw missiles, not ours, fortunately. And you can see those armor-piercing ammo shots coming out of the sky. Again, I'm not too concerned about those. Another good hit on those engines. I'm not too concerned about those, and the reason for that is the unpredictable flight pattern of these shenanigans. This isn't nearly as wobbly of a vehicle, so I don't have that defense, but the shenanigans very often makes rapid turns, and it's a very nimble vehicle, so the more often it changes direction, the more often it can avoid all those incoming cannon shots, even if they were perfectly aimed, which they rarely are. This fight here goes on for a while. Unfortunately, that Buzzsaw is too fast for our mines to really be of any use. I think we dropped a few of them here and there, but there's really nothing in there. And as it turns out, those Scarlet Dawn vehicles are after us. Yeah. I'm not happy to see Scarlet Dawn over here this early. Not happy at all. But fortunately, this early in the campaign, they've really only got one vehicle available to them, and that is the Velocity. That is a very small vehicle that's got two huge missiles on them. And this is another place where trade-offs come into play. We've already kind of discussed how frag warheads have those trade-offs inherent to the warhead itself. Well, you've also got a trade-off in missile length. The longer a missile is, the slower it is. Those Buzzsaw missiles are 3 blocks long. They are much faster than the missiles mounted on my Shenanigans aircraft up here. But they're not, it's about a 25% difference in speed there. Those Velocity missiles, as you're going to see, are absolutely enormous. Those are, I want to say, 8 blocks long, something like that. So they are about twice as slow as even some of my slowest missiles. And that really kills those missiles. They're just not able to catch up to the Shenanigans. Yeah, look at the length of those things. It's ridiculous. Why would you make a missile that long? It's not going to catch up to anything. Well, I'm not telling the truth there. Those can catch up to stuff. If you have something that's not moving, the warheads on that Velocity, you can see I was trying to find the name there, the warheads on that Velocity are a huge threat. If you're not moving, so if you're a fortress, those are going to tear major holes through you. It's really going to be a pain. But in the case of our fast-flying mover up here, the Shenanigans really isn't going to have to care about that. Those missiles are just too slow to catch up to him. He is actually faster than the missiles. Or if he's not faster than the missiles, he's at least so fast that they'll waste all of their fuel attempting to catch up to him. That's the other trade-off you have with long missiles. If you want them to go very far, you have to add a lot of fuel to them because they're so slow. But if you add a lot of fuel to them, then you're not getting a whole lot of benefit out of the long missile, because that missile you're using up all of your length on fuel tanks in order to get the thing to go as far as a smaller missile would go normally. So those missiles also, again, take 2 seconds per block to reload, so in the case of that Velocity, they're a 16-second reload if those are really an 8-block missile. That's a really long reload time. I mean, that's incredibly long. So they're not going to be firing nearly as many missiles as even my front missile batteries. Those have 2 4 blocks and 1 5 block, so I've got 2 8 seconds and a 10-second reload on the front missiles on that guy. And those missiles are going to be reloading at half the rate, and you can see that one just pretty much eradicated that Scarlet Dawn Velocity. Yeah, there's not much left there. Yeah, he's toast. Sit down. With that difference in velocity, these guys, you can see I'm trying to take a look and see what exactly is on those missiles. It looks like they have 4 or 5 fuel tanks on there. It looks like you have 5 fuel tanks and 3 fins and 3 warheads. Those things have 3 warheads, which is only 1 more than my 5-block missiles on the Shenanigans. They're nearly twice as slow as those 5-block missiles. So, and they take 16 seconds to reload as opposed to the 10 seconds that I'm going to take to reload the 5 blocks. So you're actually delivering, on average, a little bit less firepower to the target with those tremendously long missiles. Your total DPS, if you will, is actually slightly lower. As for this buzzsaw, he's kind of confused. He's firing missiles off everywhere, and really, they're not a threat to my Shenanigans vehicle at all. We are at the fortunate position of, for once, not being at the mercy of the buzzsaw. A lot of people have trouble with these things in their campaign playthroughs. This is one place where being all air is actually really helping us. It looks like this guy is actually kind of scraping up on the terrain there, and he took a tremendous amount of damage from scraping on that terrain. Unfortunately, we're not going to get the resources from killing him, really. But, yeah, he pretty much killed himself on that terrain. And just those missiles just add insult to injury there, yeah. So by now, I think we've actually dealt with all of the 3 fleets, yes, count them, 3 fleets that attempted to intervene in our capturing of this crystal territory. I am really happy with how the Shenanigans turned out. It's doing real work, it's getting the job done, and yeah, it's actually flying really well. The only thing I'm not happy about is its altitude. It's flying really high. It's not quite like I designed it to do. So I think we're going to have to make some tweaks here to this thing. The question is what? There's actually a number of thrusters on this thing, and I could go with changing some thruster velocities around. I could go with adding a thruster to the top. But in the end, the simplest solution, I think, is just going to be to get rid of that thruster down on the bottom there. The reason for that is that particular thruster was below the center of mass, and a thruster below the center of mass is always going to try and push your nose up. So it looks like we got some mines falling, we got some missiles incoming. These mines, for some reason, not all of the magnetic warheads seem to be activating, even when they're well within range to do so. It's kind of odd. And, of course, this fortress got repaired while we were off fighting those other 3 fleets. Not totally, its cannon is still not up, but it's not in great shape. But most of that armor is back, which is kind of annoying. Not real happy with that. But, you know, you leave a fortress with 20 repair bots on it alone for too long, you deserve what you get. Fortunately, we are gathering some pretty good crystal from this fighting we're doing here. So even without this resource zone, even without conquering that and keeping all of its tasty resources for ourselves, we're not going to be in too bad a shape. I think we've got enough resources to build another Shenanigans, so we can kind of multitask there, or we can even bring both of them up together and do some real work against a single large fleet. You can see I'm kind of checking the map here. We've got White Flare fleets, we've got more Scarlet Dawn, we've got Twin Guard now incoming as well. Got more Lightning Hoods, more Deepwater Guard. Yeah. There is so much incoming right now, I am not sure how we're going to deal with that. And it looks like we've actually got a couple of enemies attacking one of our resource zones. That's a bit of a concern, really. It's actually a pretty big concern, because that resource zone is not going to be giving us resources when it's dead. And I could just leave it out of play forever, but yeah, I want to deal with those fleets. Alright, and that resource fort is gone, And with that, I am going to call the end of the episode here. I'm going to go ahead and build a resource extractor in this resource zone and get some of that tasty, tasty crystal. And hopefully, I will be able to build a nice big vehicle for next time. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.